Beijing Stock Exchange's trading volume plunges by half. Xi's direct deployment fails again. Gold prices soar, but China's central bank pauses gold purchases for 4 months. Children can't pay school fees, strikes erupt across mainland for unpaid wages. Typhoon Capricorn hits Hainan, exposes Tofu-dreg buildings. Wang Yi's speech leaks state secrets? Exposing the reason behind Xi's big spending in Africa. It's all covered in today's China Truths. Beijing Stock Exchange's trading volume plunges by half. Xi's direct deployment fails again. Under the rule of the CCP, China's economy is deteriorating, with the real estate market and local governments in disarray. Now, even the Beijing Stock Exchange, personally overseen by Xi Jinping, is struggling. On September 6, the daily trading volume of the Beijing 50 index plummeted to just 2.36 billion yuan, about $330 million, a drop of over 90% from its peak, with the index nearly halving. As China's economy worsens, major shareholders are scrambling to offload their holdings through large transactions with discounts of up to 30%, sparking outrage among Chinese investors. With foreign capital exiting the market and major shareholders slashing prices, the question remains, what will happen to the ordinary investors? According to reports, since 2024, 107 companies listed on the Beijing Stock Exchange have conducted 407 large transactions at an average discount rate of 13.34%. Since September, 8 stocks, including some star companies, have seen significant discounted trades, ranging from 10% to 30%, drawing market scrutiny. Amid the overall economic downturn, companies listed on the Beijing Stock Exchange are underperforming, and for an extended period, the Chinese stock market can be described as nothing short of disastrous. Even JP Morgan has thrown in the towel, removing Chinese assets from its emerging markets ETF. JP Morgan analysts have noted that due to global geopolitical tensions and domestic policies, modeling Chinese stocks has become challenging. Potential tariff increases from 20% to 60% on Chinese products, as proposed by Trump, could reduce China's GDP growth by 2 percentage points, not accounting for inevitable retaliatory measures from the CCP. JP Morgan analysts also believe Beijing's policymakers lack the urgency to make significant policy shifts in the latter half of the year. This downgrade by JP Morgan aligns with the global trend of companies reducing exposure to Chinese stocks. Observers note that whatever Beijing deploys tends to end poorly, and now even the stock market is not exempt from this pattern, fundamentally due to chaotic CCP policies. On September 6, Xiaolin, the host of Xiaolin Finance and Politics, remarked, "In 6 trading days, Bank of Communications fell by over 14%, while Industrial and Commercial Bank of China, China Construction Bank, Xiamen Bank, and China CITIC Bank each fell by more than 10%. The sharp decline in major state-owned banks is alarming. The central government sacrifices banks to save real estate. When Xi Jinping tries to save banks, real estate suffers. Both sectors are in chaos. What exactly is the CCP doing? Xiaolin further analyzed that Wall Street maintains its lowest rating for Wang, one of China's largest state-owned real estate developers, with no hope of rescue. However, the CCP continues to push banks to pump money into Wang, announcing over 10 billion yuan, about $1.4 billion, in loans on September 4. This, he says, is a catastrophic decision, spelling disaster for China's financial and real estate sectors, with severe consequences for the economy. He concludes, Xi Jinping has messed it up. Late on September 5, Guotai Securities and Haitong Securities announced simultaneous plans for major asset restructurings, including a share swap and a merger to raise funds through A-share issuances. This announcement has sent ripples through the financial community. The merger of these two leading securities firms comes amid China's turbulent economic times, marked by declining performance and frequent violations. Gold prices soar, but China's central bank pauses gold purchases for 4 months. Amid expectations of a Federal Reserve rate cut in September and ongoing geopolitical and economic uncertainties, gold prices have surged this year, prompting central banks around the globe to boost their gold reserves. However, data released on Saturday, September 7th, reveals that China's central bank has held its gold reserves steady at 72.8 million troy ounces through the end of August, marking 4 straight months without adding to its holdings. Before the pause in its purchases, the People's Bank of China had bought gold for 18 consecutive months. The central bank was the world's largest single buyer of gold in 2023, and its decision to put its buying on hold has helped mute Chinese investor demand in recent months. Experts in the industry suggest that while China's central bank may eventually resume gold purchases, the move would likely be driven by political motives rather than economic needs, such as reducing reliance on the US dollar as a reserve asset. Children can't pay school fees, strikes erupt across mainland for unpaid wages. Recently, collective protests and rights defense actions have surged across China, with at least 74 incidents reported in the past 3 weeks, according to netizens. Even some state-owned enterprises are failing to pay wages. As the new school year begins, many Chinese citizens, struggling to cover tuition fees, have resorted to strikes to demand unpaid wages. From August 26 to September 1st, video reports from an X account yesterday showed numerous mass protests nationwide as rights defenders took to the streets. Among the 24 recorded incidents, 10 involved workers, 4 involved homeowners, 3 involved farmers, and others included driving school shareholders, public transportation workers, street vendors, taxi drivers, parents, investors, and petitioners. On August 26, hundreds of construction workers at the Sanao nuclear power project in Wenzhou, Zhejiang, launched a strike over months of unpaid wages, lasting through the night. Similarly, workers at the Baofeng power station project in Ordos, Inner Mongolia, went on strike, demanding overdue wages. Sanitation workers in Gongshuling, Jilin, also staged a 2-day strike over 6 months of unpaid salaries. From August 29 to 30th, 200 engineering vehicle drivers from the state-owned Zhejiang Wenzhou Transportation Group protested severe wage cuts with a 2-day strike. On August 28, medical staff at the first hospital in Qingfeng County, Hunan, struck over 8 months of unpaid wages. Hundreds of workers from Jiamen Hantong Shipbuilding Company in Guangdong demanded a year's worth of unpaid wages through a collective strike, while construction workers from Guangzhou Metro Line 11 blocked roads to press for their salaries. Between August 12 and 25, X account yesterday reported at least 50 mass protests in China, including 13 by workers, 13 by homeowners, 9 by farmers, and others by investors, family members, teachers, parents, passers-by, petitioners, taxi drivers, and elderly individuals. Videos revealed significant police presence at many protests, with some incidents escalating to clashes or police suppression. Protests continue to unfold across mainland China. On September 5th, construction workers in Jiaolong, Yunnan, blocked the municipal government gate after unsuccessful attempts to recover their wages, leading to clashes with police. The workers confronted officials, saying, "This gate is for the rich and officials," and expressed their desperation. "We can't even survive. Who are we afraid of being arrested by? Come arrest us," adding, "We've been here for over 20 days, and the government keeps promising solutions that haven't materialized." On September 3rd, over 1,000 taxis in Xiangyang, Hubei, went on strike against the local government's forced revocation of their operating rights. Drivers reported that the government demanded they transfer these rights to a shell company and sign contracts with it, leading to collective resistance. To enforce compliance, authorities dispatched transportation personnel to intercept and seize taxis on the roads. Li Chang, founder of China Labor Watch, explained to Voice of America that Chinese construction workers' protests follow a specific pattern. They protest at government offices, apply for arbitration at labor bureaus, and post online. For example, if a worker is owed 200,000 yuan, about $28,213, the employer might initially pay 100,000 yuan, about $14,107. If the case gains attention, they might pay a bit more, creating a vicious cycle. Protests are often the only way for workers to reclaim some wages, but many never recover the full amount. Additionally, labor arbitration is only valid for a year, so unresolved cases often lapse. Radio Free Asia reports that data from the dissident network of Freedom House, a US-based human rights organization, shows an 18% increase in dissident cases in China in the second quarter compared to the same period last year. Most incidents were economically driven, with 44% related to labor disputes and 21% involving disgruntled homeowners. Protests by homeowners and construction workers made up 44% of all cases across more than 370 provincial-level cities. The report said that economic challenges are facing the Communist Party and could escalate into broader governance issues. A dissident network representative noted, for decades, the Communist Party has traded obedience to one-party rule for economic prosperity. As economic growth slows and affects more people, this trade-off may be at risk. Typhoon Capricorn hits Hainan, exposes Tofu-dreg buildings. At 4:20 p.m. on September 6, 2024, Typhoon Yagi, the 11th typhoon of the year, made landfall in Wuhan, Hainan. The storm's maximum wind speeds near its center reached 62 meters per second, categorizing it as a super typhoon. The typhoon caused widespread devastation, including significant damage to high-rise buildings where windows of half the residents were blown away. A 9-story building with added elevators was torn apart, leaving only the empty shell, and a large sports stadium's roof was shredded. In Haikou, heavy rain and strong winds began on the afternoon of the 6th, uprooting trees and causing high-rise buildings to sway. The power was cut off, and residents captured scenes of extensive destruction. Videos show blown-out windows in many residential buildings, toppled trees, and damaged vehicles. Some longtime residents of Hainan said they had never experienced such a powerful typhoon. Local accounts reveal more destruction. In one building, half of the windows and entire balconies were blown off. Ms. Liu, who filmed the scene, noted the building's direct exposure to the wind, leading to severe damage. On the night of the 6th, a fire broke out in one apartment, prompting many residents to take shelter on the first floor and in the parking lot amid no signal, water, or electricity. Ms. Chu, another local resident, reported widespread window damage in her community. On the 7th, she saw a young man collecting coconuts that kept dropping as he picked them up. Mr. Yang from Longhua District described how the winds intensified around 4 p.m. on the 6th, uprooting trees and causing violent shaking of windows. By 9 p.m., the typhoon reached its peak, briefly calming before striking again until early morning. Mr. Young also faced flooding in his home from uninstalled windows in the vacant apartment above, with water dripping through ceiling gaps throughout the night. The destruction extended to Mr. Yang's workplace, where 90% of trees were downed, the warehouse doors blown open, and goods soaked. The streets were littered with fallen trees and scattered store signs, reflecting scenes of chaos across WeChat. Local communication signals and power remain disrupted, making contact with family and colleagues challenging. State media reports from the CCP confirmed that Typhoon Yagi made landfall in both Wenchang City, Hainan, and Sichuan County, Guangdong, causing extensive power and communication outages as well as building collapses. As of noon on the 7th, according to local officials, the typhoon resulted in 3 deaths and 95 injuries. A total of 1.227 million people across Hainan, Guangdong, and Guangxi were affected, with 401 houses collapsing and 32,424 others being damaged. Numerous trees were uprooted, and crops over an area of 56,742 hectares were affected. The estimated direct economic loss is around 26.3 billion yuan, approximately $3.7 billion. However, some netizens are questioning the accuracy of the official death toll. One user noted, "From what I know, there was more than 1 death in just one village, so it's hard to believe the number is only 3. Another added, "In my village alone, there were 3 deaths. It's likely higher than reported. This is frightening. In Guangxi, a netizen reported local casualties, stating, "I just arrived at the 4th People's Hospital, where nurses mentioned 2 people who fell from their balconies last night. The balconies were blown away, and they were sucked down." Some netizens lamented, "What's going on this summer? We have floods in the northeast, massive typhoons in the south, and droughts in the middle." Another added, "The power of nature is terrifying. Humans are nothing in the face of nature." Wang Yi's speech leaks state secrets? Exposing the reason behind Xi's big spending in Africa. As China's economy worsens, with high unemployment and local governments forced to smash pots and sell iron to manage their debt crises, the CCP announced an additional 360 billion yuan, about $50.8 billion, in aid to Africa. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi called it an act of gratitude, which has sparked ridicule and skepticism. In detail, at the 2024 Forum on China-Africa Cooperation, FOCAC, on September 5, Xi Jinping pledged this aid over the next 3 years, including 1 billion yuan for food aid, another 1 billion yuan for military aid, creating 1 million jobs in Africa, and offering zero-tariff access for African countries, among other benefits. In response to the above situation, Wang Yi, speaking at a press conference, said, "We have not forgotten that it was our African brothers who supported China, the CCP, in gaining entry into the United Nations. They have consistently stood by China, the CCP, and defended its legitimate interests on the international stage. Our African brothers have also provided crucial support for China's openness and development." Wang Yi's comments appeared to unveil the real motive behind Xi Jinping's generous spending in Africa and attracted public discussion. X-account at Xinwendiacha asked, based on Wang Yi's statement, should we see the CCP's lavish spending in Africa as a way to bribe African countries and buy votes? China couldn't have joined the United Nations without the approval of the US and Europe, just like it couldn't have joined the World Trade Organization without US consent. So why not thank the United States? And is this why you're squeezing the Chinese people to win favor with African countries and Russia? The CCP has spent over 1.1 trillion yuan, about $155.2 billion, in Africa since 2015, not including expenses on African students in China. Song Guicheng, a researcher from Taiwan's National Chengchi University, noted that the CCP uses Chinese taxpayers' money to buy influence in Africa, dismissing Wang Yi's claims as fabricated to appease domestic dissatisfaction. Song highlighted 3 key motives behind the CCP's Africa strategy. Firstly, to synthesize Africa by building infrastructure and promoting CCP ideologies. Secondly, to make African countries economically dependent on China, using Africa as a strategic base against the US. And thirdly, to exploit Africa's natural resources through infrastructure projects that primarily benefit China. So, in conclusion, according to Song Guicheng, these small African countries are essentially poisoning themselves to address immediate problems, while the CCP is scheming with hidden agendas. The Forum on China-Africa Cooperation has never been about genuine partnership. It has always been a tool for the CCP to exert control over Africa through financial influence, turning the continent into a strategic base and fortress with military facilities. By disguising its ideological influence as economic aid, the CCP's ultimate goal is to assert dominance and engage in a geopolitical showdown with the United States. Adding more perspective, former Chinese legal scholar Du Wen believes that the CCP spending in Africa is not just about buying votes but also about reshaping African ideologies. He explained that the CCP's proclaimed goal of building a community of shared future for mankind involves brainwashing both Chinese and Africans, pushing them towards ideological alignment with the CCP. According to Du Wen, the CCP sees groups that share its ideology as truly dependable. When the CCP gives you money, it's not just buying your actions, it's buying your soul. Don't forget to comment in the section below to share your opinions on today's topic with us. If you find the information helpful, please share this video with a friend to watch together. This will be a great source of motivation for our team to produce more and more quality and reliable videos. And also don't forget to like and subscribe to see more interesting topics from China Truths. Thank you for tuning in.